for the long run, strap in for a long one. We got everybody on one. Now you coming at the king, so you better not miss. And we only get stronger with everything I carry up on my back. You should paint it up with a target. Why would you dare me to do it again? Come get your spoiler, but we're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, look at you calling my name. You ought to know by now that we're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, maybe you wonder what your future's gonna be, but I got it all locked up. Take a lap now, don't be mad now. Run it back, run it back. I got bodies lining up, think you're dreaming of greatness. Send you back home, let you wake up. Why would you dare me to do it again? Come and get your spoiler up ahead. We're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, look at you calling my name. You ought to know by now that we're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, maybe you wonder what your future's gonna be, but I got it all locked up.
在以后，除了说傻子，还有其他吗？我左右，键盘琵琶在时间滴答着，还不够。你的固执让我来守候，哪怕太迟也不想以后。就在这时放肆的打斗。I got the heart of a lion, I know the harder you climb, the harder you fall. I'm at the top of the mountain, too many bodies to count. I've been through it all. I had to weather the storm to get to the level I'm on. That's how the legend was born. All of my enemies already dead. I'm born, I'm ready for war. They know I'm ready for war. I told them we're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, look at you calling my name. You ought to know by now that we're taking over. Hey, maybe you wonder what your future's gonna be, but I got it all locked up.
the heck are you doing? Again.
So the guys at the VCS asked me for a cold open, and this is the only cold I have here.
I hope you freeze.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, fans of the VCS everywhere. Once again, it is VCS English back again for absolutely no reason and no benefit to our own, bringing you more VCS action once again, to the much to the dismay, of course, of our mental health. As between the number of people on this broadcast from all across the world, myself being up at 4 a.m, I can't help but think that this is somehow some sort of punishment. I'm Rebel Fox. I'm your host here today for our first opening day of VCS Spring 2022. We just got back from winter. I feel like we just came out of the winter split. Alongside me today on the desk, of course, Tim, returning analyst from last split. Welcome back. Princey, regular here on the desk. How you guys doing? Tim, what have you been doing in the off season?
I've been mostly chilling. I mean, university has kept me pretty busy, but it was perfect because I had on university until yesterday, and now I'm free to do VCS once again. And you talked about it. Mental health is something that we all want to get rid of. So yeah, glad to be back.
Just gotta remind you that nobody forced you to be on and that you are still here voluntarily. But yeah, same as you, I also have been busy with university stuff. And yeah, I'm glad to have like something on the side. And BCS English is, of course, perfect for that because everything is kind of different here, right?
Yeah, this is a broadcast where we allow Clockwork to do cold opens. This is a broadcast where we allow Clockwork, and that alone should be enough of a message for a lot of the people out there to actually understand exactly what this broadcast is truly about in its essence. Let's talk a little bit, I guess, about what happened in the previous split, because we're only a couple months removed now, probably a month and a half removed from what was the winter split, which kind of came out of nowhere because, of course, the VCS once again was not able to attend international tournaments in the previous split. We missed Worlds once again, but we did have ourselves a little bit of a kind of a return to action in the winter for the first time over a short time period. And you guys are going to be able to see some of the results from that, from the previous split, where we had some surprises. I think one of the bigger ones was like, Sky stepping into the top 4 and eventually actually being out Luxury kind of making a return to form. But in the off season, I think was the biggest thing is that, we see the standings here. And now for the two of you walking into this opening week, what do you think was the biggest off season move from one of the teams? Because we have a lot of different roster shakeups we're going to be covering over the course of this opening week.
I want to address at first like the switcheroo between SBTC and Team Secret, who fortunately play later today. So we see DNK on the side of SBTC, and we see many members from the former SBTC lineup now on Team Secret, and they are looking comparatively stacked, I would say, compared to what they brought last split. Of course, the bar wasn't really that high, but at least maybe this time Team Secret can maybe fight for the playoff spot, and this maybe brings us to a bigger race for the 2 playoff spot that are not, I dare say, almost guaranteed to be for Cerberus and Gam, who are clearly a dominating top 2 of the league.
Yeah, I think that is one very interesting thing. But the other one is that I think there was so little movement between the playoff teams. So within the 4 playoff teams, there was I think there were 2 roster swaps overall. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of surprising to me how little actually moved in these teams.
Yeah, we didn't actually get to see a bunch of prospects really move around all too much, which was there's a benefit to that because obviously we get another full split of teams that are basically staying the same. Myself coming from NA, I usually expect a bunch of imports coming in and out of every single season. So unfortunately, Pos is just going to have to do for me for now. Hopefully he gets some playing time like he did with Pun in the previous split, but we'll see whether that's actually the case. I guess I have one more question just on this parameter alone, which is to you two. There are some new players. There are some players that are actually returning. For players that are not returning from the winter split, players that weren't around, who is the person that you're looking at first to be at the top of that list? We have names like Big Koro coming back and being potentially a player for like SGB, somebody like that along those lines that you guys really have your eyes on.
Good question. Honestly, I am not sure. I'm just gonna be surprised as last split because, especially for the players that weren't here last split. I mean, I know Big Core, for example, of course, from international events before, but not really somebody that I would now say, okay, I can see him just stomping everybody. Especially him coming in on AD carry. I think he has to contend with very good players there. probably one of the strongest roles overall, I would
Mhm.
say. So I'm gonna be interested how he holds up. And otherwise, I don't know the players too well, so I'm not too sure who I should be excited for. And I think especially the first week can show us a lot of that.
I want to bring in two names here. One of them is 2T being a starter now because he had a few stints on Garmin and he didn't look too bad at all. I think for Wiki, he looked more than fine. Of course, on such a stack team, it's not that hard. The pressure's not that high to really deliver on your own. But I mean, he's on a highly decorated team, or he has been. So there was some pressure on him for sure. And I would dare say he delivered there. And another name I want to bring up is Slater because people kept telling me he's kind of good, and I haven't really seen him myself yet that much. I think he used to play onto one of the international tournaments as well, and he looked fine there. So I'm looking forward to see if he can live up to what people have been talking about him.
Yeah, the excitement I think for Slater is pretty big, and having him and Big Coro both step back into the league. I know we talked about it a little bit on the podcast just a little bit ago about just how ridiculously stacked the ADC position is, especially because when we get to Tim's secret later, I have a bit of a caveat that I'll get to share, but that'll come later. Because first things first, we have to talk about our first series of the day because we're ever encroaching upon our first draft of the entire year, gentlemen. And this is a game which is, to me, it's actually one of the most exciting of the first week, not because it's between previous champions, but because it's a rematch of our fourth place match from just the previous split. One team Luxury that kind of jumped out of nowhere. They really made a bunch of strides in a number of different positions. And then, of course, you had Sky, which is the team that ended up taking third place, what seemed like out of nowhere, because this was a team that a lot of people had ranked in the bottom 3, if not even into the bottom 2. So I guess starting with Sky, we'll kick it off there. The only really significant roster move we've seen from them so far is that Seihin has actually stepped into their top lane role. So for the most part, the team is effectively intact from what they did when they made that top 3 run. So to you two, is this more of a one split wonder? Are we expecting them to run it back as like a top 3 team, or even potentially contest further? What are your expectations for them in a split like this?
I want to say they would not be a one-split wonder. They could definitely keep attacking and keep aiming high. But I would still say they're not like a title contender or anything like that. But I think like maybe aiming for rank 3 would still be realistic for them, especially with a team. What I really like about them is that they kind of found their identity. And while that identity was not really like the best identity you could have as a team, they really like stick to their guns and kept playing to their style. And this is especially good early in the split when you really need to find your groove. And they didn't even make a single roster change. It definitely will benefit them early in the split here.
Yeah, and I think both teams had a different trajectory, right? Luxury, they started off really hot. They were one of the contending teams, I think, for the first spots. And then they kind of fizzled out. They got weaker and weaker the longer the split went. And on the other hand, BTS, they had a horrible start to the season. I mean, when I first came on the desk, I think it was week 2. The first matchup was also BTS, and then everybody was like, yeah, Ryuk is the worst top lane in the league. He's probably the worst player in the league. They're going to get completely stomped. And somehow he pulled off multiple solo kills, and that's the moment I kind of fell in love with that team. And they just slowly improved over the entire season, and I can see them performing further and further just because they were improving throughout the entire season. And they have a good team fighting identity, especially Aomino from the AD carry position was very strong team fighting AD carry, and I think if they keep that up, they have a good shot. Like Quincy said, to at least aim for top 3 once again.
Now, I'm going to pose the same question to both of you because I think it's worthwhile to get an answer from the both of you, given that both of you are considering them to be able to maintain what they had previously, which is if you had to isolate a single member of the team from last split, that was kind of the crux of the team. Who would you say that is? And I'm going to make you give different answers. So having just randomly generated that, Tim, who was the player that you watched last split first, and then Quincy, pick a different player and tell me why they're the actual stud of Stagai.
As I said, Aomine. I think he didn't have the greatest laning phases, but he had solid ones. He wasn't inting them. And then once team fights began, his positioning was very, very good, and he was often on these hyper scaling AD carries that could on their own just win team fights, and he would consistently do it for his team. And I think he's somebody, if he steps up further and contests on that AD carry position further, they have a good advantage.
And I would actually pick Glory here. I mean, haters would say he's like the poor man's Yado, but being the poor man's Yado alone would maybe be enough for like a top 3 spot for your team. And maybe this time he can actually like surpass the other mid laner that he hasn't surpassed yet. His Victor was exceptional even before Victor was such a strong champion. He is known to play like the best meta picks, and I think Glory. I mean, I don't want to bring another name here because that would be unfair to my host. But him together with Draktar was really like what brought the team forward, especially towards the later half of the split. And while our Min is, of course, doing decently, I think Glory was definitely one reason why the team picked up some steam in the later stages and why they have been a force in playoffs.
So both of you make very, very convincing arguments. I think they're both players that are wonderful to watch. But unfortunately, because neither of you picked Drakthar, which was the correct answer, you're both no longer goated with the sauce. So unfortunately, we're going to have to see if one of you can reclaim that title a little bit later on. But instead, let's also shift focus over to Luxury because they're the other half of this matchup. And to me, they actually made a more significant roster move because in the offseason, they decided to bring in CBL from the side of SBTC to replace H3 at support. And like the bot lane, I don't think anyone would have considered the bot lane necessarily a problem for Luxury in the previous split, but there was a lot of times where it felt like they were the weakest part of the map. So let me just ask you this. Does the change make Luxury better, worse, or do you think that they're going to maintain that like fourth competitive with third type area that they ran in the previous split, given that CBL is now here?
So H3 was a bit hit or miss during the season. He had some very good games, especially in the beginning, also on engaged supports, I remember. But he also was a person that could grief it a lot. But I'm not too sure if CBL is a big upgrade, and I think a lot of that is also shot calling and being able to be a shot caller for your team, especially from the support position. How can your engages affect the team? How can your positioning in team fights affect the team? And that's something that is very hard to see coming into a new team. So I would say it's probably going to be a side grade, and it might be an upgrade or downgrade depending on how he performs with the team.
I think short term it would actually be more of a downgrade because, of course, you throw away some of the synergy you previously had. CBL didn't have the best winter split, I dare say, on SBTC, but in his fairness, SBTC had their issues that were, of course, in other parts of the map, with their top laner having to play mid lane, their drafts being a bit more predictable, and them kind of falling apart on that note. And what these supports, what I checked on them was actually some stats, and that is like the experience differential. Both have negative ones, which is of course not that surprising on supports. And now comes the question, of course, do they just roam too much or do they just roam not efficiently enough? And whether that is the case and on those two supports, CBL actually had the better stats. So maybe he will just roam less or be more efficient with it. And whether that is actually true is something that remains to be seen, of course. I expected long term to be a slight upgrade over H3 because the Luxury bot lane wasn't too strong, I dare say. But I think short term, they aren't really doing themselves a favor here. So at least for now, I wouldn't expect Luxury to be favored here.
See, I didn't get to look up the CS per minute stat for our supports here in the league, so I actually can't tell you specifically who is the best of all of them. But what I can tell you specifically about those statistics is that that was actually the worst winter split that has ever been had by CBL. It's also the only winter split that's ever been had by CBL, but one way or another, the split had its own reasons why CBL had its struggles, but the entirety of Flash kind of had its problems or my apologies, SPTC had its problems over the course of the split. So maybe we can chalk that one up. We'll see what the performance looks like today. I have another question I guess I want to pose as more of an open idea here for both of you to expound upon, because the target focus for this is actually going to be towards Killer Queen, but also the majority of our junglers inside of League, which means it feels as though perhaps the jungle pool has now shifted away from some of the crazier stuff like the Talon that Killer Queen is really known for. Do you think that's going to have a massive impact across what we see in the entire league? Or do you think that some of that stuff is still going to pop up because we're in the VCS? What kind of impact do you think the meta now has shifted to make it so that these two teams specifically, but even the all of VCS is going to change?
Do you want to start, Mr. Quincy?
Yeah, let me start with it. I mean, with Killer Queen, the thing was he was always drawing the talent button in the first rotation, even, and that might stop right now. But I think the pick is still decent. I mean, you could still play it, but currently, I mean, the more prominent junglers would be the Jarvan, the Xin Zhao, the Trundle, and that is something that is like less the style of Killer Queen, I dare say. I mean, he also picked a bunch of Echo and just 1v Knight in some of those games, and maybe this is a downside for the side of Luxury now, but I would still expect Killer Queen to adapt to the new meta and be a strong jungler starting from today.
I'm gonna start off, and I'm gonna head in with the CS stats for both supports to help you out because you were asking. So it turns out H3 was ahead in CS at 15 minutes more than CBL, but overall he had a higher negative CS differential. So it is split between the supports. CS does not matter for either of them, as I said. But heading in, yeah, I think Killer Queen. I mean, a lot of these junglers just fell out of the meta completely, and it's more like pick Jarvan, Xin Zhao, and Lee Sin every single game, and Poppy. Those four, I think, are really dominating, and all four of them are also very good at shutting down the playmaking junglers, so it's going to be very hard for him to pivot into those junglers.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen out there, my analysts on the desk, my casters who might be asleep right now after our desk, our first draft has begun. Burst the Sky versus Luxury kicks off right here and right now. We have immediately off the board Twisted Face getting taken away from Luxury. We know Blazes wants that one. Thresh and the Zeri also getting taken away. Lack of comfort maybe from Burst the Sky. It's crazy also. Ryuk is who I see in the top lane right now. They were playing Seihin pretty much the entirety of these C games. So it's a little jarring to me to see Ryuk step back into the starting lineup. I don't necessarily disagree because I don't think Seihin necessarily was an upgrade, but this is at least a little shocking to me right here.
I mean, is it really shocking?
Shocking might be a little bit of an overstatement. Yeah, you're right.
I mean Ryuk was very good, though. I mean, he performed pretty decently in the last bit towards the end.
Towards the end, he was kind of fine, but he was also permanently weak-sided. So how much of that was really like significant remains to be seen. And I mean, Ryuk was the starter. Seihin was coming in for some games. I wouldn't really call Seihin the new starter or anything like that. So Ryuk being in here is not that big of a surprise for me. But yeah, Ryuk is back in, and he also got the first pick Corki for his team, which would be Glowy's pick, of course. And Corki is kind of a topic right now, especially with the poke build. You can still go the DPS build, and depending on the situation, it is kind of like dependent what you want for your team and what you need for your team. And I'm also really surprised. No, I'm not that surprised actually. The Victor might still be open for Blazes, but you really don't need to pick it in the first red side rotation. So our failures gets through, and I like to see that because we have seen so many Jhin early picks in the VCS, and I'm glad that maybe is gone now.
Yeah, and with Jarvan Renekton, you have two very good champions though to punish him and to get to him and to shut him down. And a pick that I really hate with all of my heart, literally, I think the pick is so overrated, is Viego. I think this champion, especially for the VCS, last split also already, I think he is just very much overrated because he's very slow. He isn't that champion like Jarvan or Xin Zhao or Lee Sin that is very aggressive and can force plays early. It's a scaling champion. It will wait. It wants to wait. It wants to farm, and I hate it. It is not great. But on the other hand, the Graves pick, I really like into Renekton. There's nothing that Renekton can really do in the lane. You can't one-shot the Graves because you can't get to it. The Graves can just perma-push, and there shouldn't be much that Renekton can do, except for setting up ganks for the Jarvan, essentially.
Now,
He can.
oh, you're good.
Yeah, the Renekton also denies the potential, like Diana asked you, shenanigans on the other side, so maybe that's the reason why they are picking this champion here. And also for Ryuk, it has been decent before, but I agree. I mean, Graves is a great matchup into it. The Viego, I do not hate nearly as much as you do, but I think it is fine, but you need to have like a plan to really like shoehorn the early game somewhat so you can stabilize that and not really fall prey to early skirmishes where you might not be in a favorable position. And now I really wonder what will be the pickup for Burst Sky. And what really surprised me is that many AD carries are targeted, like with the Zeri, of course. Aphelios is also something that doesn't surprise me. But Jinx has been completely ignored, and our mini could just pick it up or go towards his favorite, which would be the Kai'Sa.
LCK special? LCK 0% win rate special for Blazes is one of his favorite champions.
Oh no. Okay, so my thought on the Ryze is at least the Ryze gives you gank setup for Viego, because what I also didn't like about the Viego pick is that you can't really gank a Graves. Like, there's nothing you can do on the Renekton side. You can just isolate them. But now you actually have a chance of getting into mid lane, and Ryze has very good gank setup there. So at least you have that, and it's gonna be a Twitch. It is gonna be Lulu Twitch. I love our Mina. I just, please, yes.
I think
Twitch is
Rebel
great.
too.
My heart. The first game of the entire split versus the Skies they made me fall in love. I didn't think it was possible to love a team more that had Dragfire on it, but as it turns out, they're gonna pick Twitch for me in the first game of the split, and they get to punish a Nautilus with it. Oh goodness me, CBL, you have completely turned my faith. I was like, okay, I like Luxury, I like versus Sky, this is gonna be fun. But now versus Sky just has my entire heart the entirety of the time. Talk to me about this, because this. I think the biggest powerful, I think it's been dramatically overlooked by a number of different leagues and a number of different players. But here, Versus the Sky is saying outright on day number 1, in game number 1, this is the strategy that they're going for. They saw it for a mile. They were able to set it up properly.
Yeah, and it's Twitch over Jinx, right? So they decided to pick the Twitch over Jinx, which means I have a higher priority. The big question for me is now, is it going to be AD or AP Twitch? Because I can really see AP Twitch. The fun fact that most people don't realize is that the W slow scales on AP, which means that with 2 items you have like 65% slow on your W AoE against a team comp that is already struggling to really get onto you and is very low range, especially the Rising Graves and Viego. It's not going to be easy for you to play into an AP Twitch if he wants to go for that, and you still have a lot of DPS, you still have a lot of burst damage on top of that. So I'm interested to see if it's going to be AP or AD Twitch, and I hope it's going to be AP, because I think especially W value here is massive.
But would you really pair the AP Twitch with the Lulu? But down there, you already have so much magic damage in the mid lane with a potential AP Corki, like with the magic penetration build or the poke build. I think the AD Twitch is actually more likely. But either way, I like our Mina going for the Twitch deliberately instead of the Jinx. What I do not like is Blazes going for Wise instead of Victor. So this draft, I would favor BTS for sure.
Thoughts on that, Tim? Which team you predicting for game number 1?
I mean, BTS. I mean, I said BTS 2-0 before the series started, and I'm sticking with my guns here. I think the draft doesn't change anything.
The Twitch has decided for our analysts that BTS have the winning draft. This is a pretty consistent thing here on my desk. I trust my analyst very intently. However, I have 2 excited people getting ready inside of the casting booth to take things away as we kick off game number 1. Carrix, Mobby, take it away.
Out of the sewers comes doom, or at least that's what one side will be hoping, as the Twitch is locked in to kick off the VCS Spring Split here in 2022. My name is Carrix. With me is the lovely Marbanogi, and we cannot wait to get back into the VCS and start bringing you this high-octane region. And we're on to Summoner's Rift. We're ready to go. As I said before, the rat's been picked. It's matched by the Aphelios on the other side, a true battle of hyper carries. And Marby, I could not be more excited.
Yeah, I want to just use this to sort of branch off a little bit of what Tim was saying, because we're focusing on this Twitch. It's a Twitch. Big AoE slow. Also has a really nice setup for Glory. He can, if they're slow, you can really hammer in those rockets that can be kind of hard to land, and get big damage, get big burst before a fight. I mean, I do think it will probably lean more towards the AD, because, yeah, that seems to be a bit more of the safer option, probably a bit more versatile, gives you a bit more of that preferred damage spread. But I'm just so excited for it. I also really like it because in this meta, you really want to play towards the spot side. You really want to get these bot lanes rolling, get that dragon priority. And getting this good double range setup in lane, going to have a bit of range advantage over the Aphelios, just naturally. I mean, the Calibrium will...
Brutal first few trades here.
Yeah, that's just press the attack, and...
That's an Ignite use. CBL has to back.
They've forced it heal.
Potentially.
He'll be fine with pots, I'm fairly sure, but really low heal blown, that should be a big target on the head for Drakthar, which is why we're seeing Blazers come down to make sure they can grab vision on the Raptors and see where Drakthar is going to go. If he's smart, he will do a little doop-de-doop and skip the Raptors, in my opinion. That would be the way to go. He is going straight for red. I think he managed to dodge the vision. But yeah, he's dodging those Raptors right now, so they're not quite sure where he is at this moment. They can assume he skipped it because where else would he be?
Yeah.
But little bit of uncertainty, and that's what you want.
So, Marby, I want to talk a little bit more about the Twitch. I'm sure we're going to talk about it as the game goes on. But you mentioned you have that slow field. It sets up Glory thunking in those rockets. We know that Corky rockets do an illegal amount of damage. But I'm thinking of another scenario. You land a couple big ones. Everyone's chipped down. Suddenly, from the back lines, AD Twitch opens up, gets the rat-a-tat-tat going. That was always a better alt name. I will not be debated on this. I can see some really strong combos here between these two champions.
Killer Queen is spotted here. The push
She's alright.
bot lane will mean that Drakthar should have this crab, but they should also be able to signify to Glory that he probably wants to back off a little bit due to his no mana. But Killer Queen just making that beeline for that top crab with Blazers to support is coated as well. Yeah, that's going to be a simple trade. It's not too much of an issue because first crab's kind of not really worth anything right now. You can happily get double crabbed and not fall behind at all. But Ryuk doing what he can into this matchup. It's not going for him. He's got a bit of a lead at the moment, but losing heavily into health, and here is Killer Queen.
Oh, Killer Queen lands the Spectral Maw, but Ryuk does manage to dance away for now. He's got nothing in the Fury bar, so if they want to take this under tower, they can, but as Yue always says, Graves in dives, Keck W. Ryuk's just going to try and turn it around. He slices, he dices, he's out of there.
Yeah, that's fine. They managed to shove him off the tower. They deny a wave. Nothing really invested there, and now Drakthar, can he get the jump onto Killer Queen? Would be bold.
I don't think he wants it.
So, just gonna walk up, smite the Grump probably.
Yep, and he does manage to get it. Well done. Teleport back into the tower. They could potentially make something out of this, but I don't think they want to. I think they just want to let their Renekton just play the isolated matchup. The desk pointed it out. You can't really interact with this lane. It's a Graves. He just farms. He neutralizes it forever. We actually, and this feels so heretical to say of the first match of a VCS split, I think we're in for a bit of a slow game. I think both teams are happy to scale.
I definitely think we can sort of see a little bit of ease in the first thing. It should kick off really around the 8-minute mark, of course, for that first Herald. I would like to see Drakthar try and get something done on this Jarvan, because otherwise you can't fall off pretty hard on the pick. Your Flag and Drag is fairly unreliable CC. Your ult is only so good. But I think...
Barbie, we've been discussing, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we've been discussing AD or AP Twitch. What about lethality Twitch? Because he's got a Dirk.
So could just be an early for lane into collector angle. Give that cheeky little Twitch burn into kill. And here's Killer Queen on the bot side, but
there's the flash forward. The hook will land, and oh boy, that is so much damage going in. Lulu has no chance, as Vit will pick up the first kill of the VCS Spring Split.
Ilio with the early flash, but the auto was already in range. It's already on the way, so got that purple gun locked down. Follow-up flash hook by CBL. Not really much Ilio can do in that circumstance. It's just the one and the dragon traded, so really good moves from Luxury to get that bot lane pressure going, try and punish this fairly squishy lane as it goes on. Just, clean and perfect. Nothing can be done here from, it blows the heel. But,
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, as you said, as soon as the auto attack from Vit landed, and we do have a bit of a clash up on the top side as Rise is getting a lot of damage, but Drakthar wants to make it happen as Dominus is used as well. Drakthar with a good bit of healing there, so Glory's coming in from the side. Realm Warp used, can Blazers get away? He can! That's a lovely teleport out, and all of Luxury will survive.
Yeah, great collapse from the side of versus Sky. It looked real bad for Drakthar, but with that Valkyrie, Glory able to get over the wall, cheat a bit of distance, and save it for his jungler, and then a really nice Realm Warp brings out Coded and Blazers alongside. So all in all, lots of action, nothing really gained. And I'm liking seeing Drakthar try and push and invade, but I do really want to see him link up with the lanes, especially in the bot lane. Try and make sure you try and get something done. Try and get this Twitch rolling, because they had a really good 2v2 lane, but now they've been set behind with that first blood. And the wave shove from Vit is just going to be that much stronger, thanks to things like the being able to pick up the Severum and the Infernum. Those will keep them going. Those will push in the Switch, and they don't really want to be stuck in, but here they are. Here's the rotation for Herald. This is going to be it. And Luxury have first position.
Yeah, Luxury does have first position, but there is a package available for Glory. We know what this can do. It's a hook land onto Elio, but in goes the package. The carpet laid down. Not a very effective engage there by Drakthar. He just gets blown up immediately. Killer Queen now takes control. And oh no, Marby, it's all falling apart. They trade back one, but it doesn't matter when all of the team is rotting away. Glory up in the air, sent to the grave, and Ryuk will be the only one to leave. We hit the Sepia Rift, and oh my word, Luxury have just catapulted into the lead.
Yeah, the pause is absolutely right, because someone didn't have their monitor on. Clearly. Because that teamfight was dreadful from BTS. They missed... it was a fairly good package across the team, but the team was just so split up. They were in, 4 different positions. Then the package happens. Glory's in the backside in the middle of nowhere. Ryuk's still nowhere to be seen. And Drakthar goes in really early. It's just terrible communication. You're basically taking multiple 1v5s, and what we're seeing here seems to be resolved. It's just going to be Killer Queen
back on the
picking up the Herald post in the aftermath. And that's a nice big 2,000 gold lead for Luxury, plus Dragon, plus Herald. They're off to a fantastic start. Their problem with range is not going to be as much of a problem if they can keep a lead. And if they can keep getting good priority and vision down around objectives to wrap around with Realm Warps, teleports, good flanks from CBL.
Yeah, ideally, I do apologize for a very angry Rakan. I'll get him sorted out in a little bit. He's still getting used to the new apartment. I do apologize. He's a little bit spooked. As Glory continuing to farm, of course, they do have still the possibility of this Corki, but let's have a look. It starts with a hook into a package.
Yeah, we see, look here, Glory goes one way, Drakthar goes the other, and the solo laners are just completely away from the rest of the team. So 2 very separate fights of a 5v3 into a 5v1 because Ryuk realizes, I just need a bounce. So just horrific team fighting coming up from Sky, as they do not group up, they do not work together, and they do not coordinate their engage.
Sorry about that. That is very true, but we are, of course, back to live. And the big benefactor of these plays has been Vit. 3-0 and 2. Gale Force complete at 10.5 minutes. This Aphelios is already looking very, very scary, Marby.
Yeah, we're seeing Drakthar now being bullied out of his jungle. Blazers has the roam of the priority. Bit of a hook away from CBL, should be fine, but here's the roam from Blazers. Drakthar is gonna be donezo, most likely. Yep.
Yeah, they're in trouble. Herald summoned up. There goes the ultimate. It's a good little bit of delaying there from Drakthar. Puts up the Rage Cage, but they need to fight this one out. They get one back, but now it's just Glory. The teleport in from Ryuk. Can he actually change anything? Blazers now falls. But Corki fell in the meantime. The Herald will still do the damage. Killer Queen now moving forward. He's taken over that Corki body. He breaks another heart. And oh boy, that's a quadra kill for the Killer Queen. And Luxury are running away with it.
Yeah, tried their best to stall, tried to make the tower do as much as it could, but Vit is basically untouched. All that damage comes from the tower. Coded gets to hang out on the top side, and Killer Queen gets to hit Reset City, pops it off, cleans it up. There might be a bit of a window for versus Sky to grab this dragon, but it's just an ocean, so it's not really a huge loss from the side of Killer Queen and Luxury, but the way they're heading down, it seems fine. But here we see it now. It's just first roam, time and time again. Drakthar caught out by over chasing onto CBL, and it's a 4v3 dive, which seems like not that bad. But look at that perfect hook onto the main source of damage. Does their best, but once Killer Queen manages to get one reset, it's just lights out.
Yeah, Killer Queen as well. I want to shout him out. He actually played the champions he was picking up really well. You saw him hit a big EQ on the Jarvan. Of course, he's a jungler. It's not like he doesn't know how to play the Jarvan. But still, something to watch with Viego players. Not just using them as a reset bot, but actually getting value out of the stolen abilities. Drakthar is caught out, trying to contest Killer Queen's red buff. They do have numbers. Drakthar will get a small victory. But with a 6-0 Viego and a 4-0 Felios, I think the Zoo might be in some trouble. Call a vet.
Yeah, I respect it. I respect it. Keeping the pressure on as best they can, but it can backfire horribly. But if they find Killer Queen caught out, if to Drakthar and Glory, they might be able to cash in that big shutdown. We're gonna see first tower fall for Luxury, and we might be reaching the stage where objective bounties do come into play and can be the path back in for Burst Sky if they're able to properly utilize their range, properly utilize this
Amine.
edge.
He's going for it.
It really gives the game away running past the minions though. Like, Elio needs to try and beat.
Ryuk's dead.
He's just dead. Yeah.
He's dead.
Game given away. Not much Ellie can do because he needs to be there if they try and make a play, but can't stealth. So they stop the backs, run away. To the top side, Blazers once again controlling this mid lane pressure, mid lane wave, able to run warp in and get up a kill. Coated might overextend here though.
He might. Drakthar does have access to the ultimate, so he can put him in the pot. Probably needs to if they actually want to make a play out of this, but Glory's not interested, and Drakthar just has to kind of walk away.
Yeah,
Where's your killer instinct gone, Drakthar? Drakthar of last split is ulting there every day of the week.
Yeah, when you miss the EQ, I feel like they kind of just made the Gloria in particular made the call. Just no, it's no other. We probably won't be able to cut him down in time. Shield bow is shield bow. It's too much darkness. We don't know where CBL is, and CBL was pretty much around the corner, so they didn't really want to make that trade. Now we're seeing a bit of an ingress into the blue buff. This isn't.
They've got a flank. They don't make it. They don't pull the trigger on it. They're playing very skittish. I don't blame them. 8k gold down, 14 minutes in. You don't really want to be taking fights because you probably can't win them. Another hook out of CBL. Does take a little bit of punishment on the backside. Almene the same. So far, this Twitch not doing a huge amount of anything as Drakthar has been caught out. Has not flagged and dragged away quite yet. Coded bearing down on him. There's the flag. There's the drag. But everyone's coming. He flashes over the wall. Gets Killer Queen's ult. Gets Killer Queen's flash. The package goes in. Glory, he's going so deep. Has to try and get out. The depth charge, the hook. There's a Lulu ultimate to keep him alive for a little bit longer. Killer Queen going low. Killer Queen goes down. It's a big shutdown. Over to the Corky. The rockets come out. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Leo gets hit hard. And they need to run, but here's Blazers to light the fire and burn down BTS. But never mind. The firefighters respond in time, as Ryuk does well, Almene as well, and Luxury have to run.
So overall, 2 for 3. That's a huge pickup for Sky. Bounties as well, going on to the Corky. That's going to be a really big swing, and they're not going to be able to pick up any objectives off of it, but it's gold in the pockets of Almene, gold in the pockets of Glory. And actually, Glory, I didn't notice this before because the icon is kind of similar at this resolution. Yeah, that's a unsealed spellbook. So this Corky is not trying to farm up as much gold as he can. He's just trying to make his way around the map, have more combat power. And you see here, it's a decent start from Glory in that it sets it up and gets it all going to try and knock it down. And the pickup on the rocket is great. But it is a little bit desynced. He takes a lot of damage straight up. And Blazers, he's first to the play, but Ryuk is just in time to catch him, and they don't really want to keep diving between two towers.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the gold lead is still very, very much in favor of Luxury, don't get me wrong. But that play does, I actually think, give Sky a window. Their Corky is now pretty strong. He's 2 and 3, which is not great, but he got 1,000 gold shut down there in that fight. Corky does absurd damage. He is going this AP Corky build, not a surprise by any means. I think this does give Sky a chance. Not a huge one, but it's better than the 0% I think they had about 2 minutes ago.
The thing is, the way Glory's been playing this, I almost would prefer him to go for the shield bow because he's so aggressive with these packages. that he kind of needs the extra defense. But if once this has been completed, his poke from range, and if they properly utilize it and play around it, will be very effective, very strong.
Hook lands.
By the hook.
Ultimate going in onto Almine. That's so much damage coming out. Code had already used that ultimate. There won't be a snipe. Infernal Drake is secured by Luxury. And we had glimpses of hope here, but Sky very quickly reminded of their situation. Almine is in stealth. The spray and pray is on cooldown. As another hook comes in, the Renekton taking a lot of damage. He surfs on forward. Glory will pick up the first kill. A huge heal out of Ryuk as well. Buys a little bit of time. Coded goes down as well. Corki is here. He's firing. As they continue to move forward, they're very scared of Blazers. The chase will stop, but it's a 2-for-1 in the favor of Sky.
Yes, coming in, these dives are very aggressive from Luxury, and they are being in these last few team fights. Sky has been able to sort of scrounge back these victories, but it is playing against the tide. You're playing against such a big goal lead that even though they're scraping these victories, they're not able to convert them into anything. These fights are happening when there's nothing on the map. There's no Herald. There's no Dragon. You can maybe shove in some waves, try and keep the gold and claw the gold back to even, but because you can't convert it into an objective and thus the bounty, you aren't able to really cushion yourself or balloon yourself back into that comfortable position. And this is just going to be a bit of a weird situation, I feel, where it's going to look like Luxury are losing every fight, but will ultimately be winning the game across the entire thing, unless they really screw up their timing of these fights, because so far their timing has been fight when there's nothing up. If we lose, it doesn't matter. If they pick a really big fight and then lose it before a Dragon or a Baron, then it becomes a bit more of a problem. And those are coming onto the map soonish, Baron in particular. And here they just overestimate their burst and underestimate Ryuk's ability to survive.
Ryuk plays that so well.
And they're just stuck so far back under the tower. CBL and Coded take too much damage. And it's gonna
Ryuk in trouble, but he's going to try and make it happen again. He slices, he dices, he's managing to get away, gets hooked back in. Can't survive that one, even with the Lulu ultimate. And they actually picked off Drakthar as well during the replay. So Luxury picked up 2 unanswered kills. They'll get the inner tower as well. And once again, a glimpse of hope snuffed out very quickly.
So, yeah. It seems like they picked Drakthar on the red buff, and then there wasn't enough response onto the Ryuk. Because Glory, if one of the other team, if the rest of Sky was there in that bot side a little bit earlier, they probably could have converted that into a pretty good win. And here we see Drakthar, he's pushing out very far without anybody, any real wards to work with. And
lovely.
CBL on hook champs is still something to be feared. To be feared. I don't talk.
It's first game of the split. It's all right. Yeah, and then look, this was very much just a foregone conclusion once Drakthar got picked. Ryuk could do nothing about it. As back to live we go. Baron is now on the map. Objective bounties as well. Something you said before. Sky could possibly slingshot themselves back to closer to parity. Though of course, 9k gold down at 20 minutes. It's a rough day at the office for the lads from Sky. They've got a lot of work to do.
You're seeing a bit of parity in the mid lane with that the 2 items, but it's the other lanes that are really hurting. You're seeing the fully completed Lord Dominic's, and most of what is probably going to be a bloodthirster realistically up for Coated coming through here against just the Gore Drinker and Phage. And then you're pretty much an item ahead on the side of Vit as well. So these other
Killer Queen.
Yeah, Killer Queen's 8-1. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, and this is the reworked Death Dance as well, which is a very, very powerful item. Sorry?
It does a lot. And
it really does. The reign of Sterix is over. The king is dead, long live the king. Almine, he's in trouble. There's flash forward from Killer Queen, immediately goes over the wall with the Heartbreaker. They're just going to pincer them in. And here comes the murder. It's a triple kill picked up for Blazers as the Inferno grows. The Rise is suddenly fed. Luxury immediately proceed up the river. They're going to take on Nash, take on the first Baron buff of the Spring Split. There is nothing Sky can do about it, and I think they should already be thinking about Game 2.
Yeah, you pretty much have to. You saw there the Heartbreaker over the wall to predict the flashes, but the flashes didn't come. Aomina and Leo just knew they're done. They're donezo. It's gone for them. The Dragon, the Baron falls so quickly that they don't even have time for Glory to try and take the Dragon. So that's just going to be Soul on top of it. There's nothing that can be done for Burst Sky. I think you're pretty much just going to try and stall this out as long as you can to discuss strategy. That's all you can do. Those are your options. Discuss strategy for the next game and just drag it out as long as possible, French pause, or go next.
I don't think they can. I am 99% convinced teams aren't allowed to just FF. So I think it will be the French pause. I'm sure. At this point, I think this game's cooked. You just start talking about next game. It's a best of 3. There's no reason you can't bring it back. You've played best of series against Luxury plenty of times. You played a best of 5 last time, and it went the distance. So, no issues. They can steady themselves. But yeah, this has been an amazing showing here from Luxury. I think in general we did doubt this team. We backed BTS. I think the words I was talking to Milky earlier, our other lovely play-by-play, and said analytically BTS wins this matchup, but there's the Killer Queen factor, and he's 8-1, so I think we were right.
He is 8-1. I feel for Burst Sky. They really found they really just couldn't push the early game advantages they have through this Jarvan, and because Drakthar wasn't really getting anything done, wasn't even really looking for anything, as he just there's the fight. Game's over.
They're going on in. The 2 are already dead. The Realm Warp will carry in another. It's a triple kill picked up for the Aphelios. It seems like they're just sharing the multi-kills around the team. And Luxury, without even really breaking a sweat, will come in before the Union mandated 26 minutes, as 24 and a half on the clock will be all they need to break the towers, break the Nexus, and pick up the first victory of the 2022 VCS Spring Split. And oh my word, what a statement from Luxury.
Yeah, I have to say, I was expecting this to go a very different way. I thought it's a very bot-centric meta. We have a Twitch. Surely Sky are planning to do some fun in the bot lane. Drakthar never showed up. Killer Queen did, got it rolling, and it just snowballed from there. It probably broke completely around that dreadful fight around in the Herald. But, so if that wasn't such a disaster, we saw BTS having means where they could have crawled back, but that exploded into such a big lead that there was nothing done.
For sure, and I'm sure after our break, the analyst desk will have a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in probably just over 5 minutes with more VCS action here on VCS English. We're so happy to be back for the Spring Split, and we will see you soon.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the VCS English Analyst Desk. Our first game did not go as expected now, did it, gentlemen? Unfortunately, the Twitch takes a horrifying loss. I want to start off our desk segment, and this has absolutely no importance. It's just going to be something funny that I came up with. What do the following players have in common? Faker, Chovy, Maple. Anyone? No?
They are all mid laners.
They're all mid laners. More importantly, they combined have less wins on Rise this season than Blazes does. The VCS will see you at MSI, other regions. Welcome to the VCS, capable of winning games on the champion. Gentlemen, what happened there? Tim, start us off. You said it, I think, best. Better draft loses. That tends to happen.
Yeah, it's better draft loses. I mean, obviously, AD Twitch is bad, so it should have been AP Twitch, and then it would have been easy win. Yeah, I mean, it was very good play from Luxury towards topside, diving the Renekton early, putting him behind already, making the matchup even worse for him. Already, that was probably the strongest point in their draft, the Graves Renekton matchup in the early game. And then Rice also had it pretty easy to get priority into the Corki, just because Corki can't really match the priority until level 6, can't match the push, so they use that window to get ahead early on top side, and then at the Herald fight they just pushed the lead, and they just got snowballing, especially on the Vego, who ended the game I think with 7 kills, something like that. So the pick that I said was horrible because it couldn't get off in the early game and it couldn't snowball the game. Well, he got kills in the early game, and then suddenly, yeah, champion that is very strong if he gets kills, and if he scales into the game, will dominate the game. It's just that I didn't expect him to be able to.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair to the AD Twitch, what Aomine was doing wasn't really AD Twitch. I mean, look at just his item build pathing choice. He went straight at Dirk first, then he was like, I gotta finish my Kraken Slayer, and then he was like, oh, I'm very behind. The enemy champions are already level 12 and beyond that, so why even bother finishing the Collector? I just go Hurricane now. And he was sitting on the straight at Dirk, I think, until the end of the game. But yeah, the item choice is one thing, but also the in-game choices are like another huge thing, because I mean the draft was basically one for them, but you still need to turn on your monitors. I mean, this disjointed Herald fight basically just said it all. I mean, we saw Glory packaging in, and then Rakta just cataclysm the other way, and that basically summed it all up, right? I mean, there was like a Corki sitting for 3 seconds in the Herald pit and doing absolutely nothing, and then just getting farmed, and yeah. It was just no synergy at all for versus Sky, which is ironic because they are the team we expected the synergy from.
Especially since they made no changes to the roster. It's really funny because when you watch the LCK, I remember they were talking about how they flip on Herald so often, and the gold lead amounts to like 200 or something. Like, it's like one person dying just is an absolute disaster. And we're getting like 4K gold flips at like 8 minutes into the game, and it just doesn't matter here because there's still potential for a mid game like what had happened with Luxury. I'm going to come quickly into the defense of the AD Twitch. I don't think it's a bad option here. The Dirk is acceptable. My problem with what Amini did is he went press the attack. You don't go press the attack with Serrated Dirk Rush. You do Hail of Blades with Dirk Rush. And that's because when you pop out of vision, you do it the way that you had in the previous split, which is when you pop out inside of the laning phase or somewhere else on the map, which was humongous. They got no pressure from their Twitch. Their top side lost. They lost team fight. All of a sudden, Twitch was just getting bodied on bottom side, and there was nowhere to be done. So a little bit of defense for Amine in the selection of the items. I don't think perfectly optimal, but at least the idea is there for the Dirk to eventually develop to something. But what do we do to fix this, right? Is this all draft problems? Is this like just build path problems? What happened with Sky in this game that they desperately need to kind of make sure doesn't happen again against Luxury to make sure they could take it to 3, Quincy?
That's a very good question, because we like the draft. I think the item build choices, I mean, they are also like kind of more a symptom more than the cause, because I mean, when you fall behind, you maybe do like some band-aid fixes, and it just looks awkward when you just keep falling further and further behind. So the dumb straight up answer would be just play better, just maybe flash the CC that's coming in when you're getting ganked, like Elio didn't do at the first gang, and that was kind of what started the snowball on the side of Killer Queen. And I mean, the draft was fine. The item build choices look kind of awkward. I think maybe play more standard. Maybe don't pick Twitch. Maybe just go for the Jinx, which would be meta right now, or go for the Kaiser, which you have shown promise on beforehand in the winter split. But other than that, I just think it's find some synergy. do not do whatever you did in game 1 because the shot calling kind of wasn't really consistent with them. They weren't on the same page, and maybe just play an easier comp. Other than that, I think it's not really easy to say what is to fix there.
I do have one glaring issue with the team comp they picked, and that is availability of ganks and gank setup. And that's extremely horrible for them, right? It's like you're playing Renekton into Graves. Yeah, good luck trying to get to the Graves. Like maybe you can get to him with Jarvan like level 6, but the probability that just Graves turns around and one shots both of you, like Beppo did in NA, where he just turns around, kills both because his Q insta bounces, and you have so much burst damage at your disposal, is way too high. So it's really hard to gank there, especially if Renekton is put behind early as he was. And then like your Corki is not really going to help in gank situations. Yeah, good luck ganking the Corki, and then you have Twitch, Lulu, and bot lane. Yeah, good luck doing anything there. And then suddenly, like, what do you do? Like, you have a Jarvan who wants to get ahead, who needs to get ahead, who does need to do something in the matchup against Viego, but he isn't really set up to do anything. So maybe just go for an engaged support, go for something that can give you the setup to play around bot lane and not really go for the Lulu. Even if you have a Twitch does have a lot of burst damage in the early game, in the first levels, especially with pressy attacks. So just play for that, and I think the draft would have been a bit better because it gives them the setup to do something.
It does. And now we get our opportunity to see what the run back looks like from Burst the Sky and Luxury Esports, as they've actually decided to stay on the same sides for this one. Xin Zhao and Renekton taken off the board for Burst the Sky. I am curious if we are about to get a swap C, because this seems a lot less like a Burst the Sky banning phase, because they would never take Renekton away from themselves. That's never going to happen in 100 years. And this seems as though maybe Burst the Sky's on the other side because they banned away not only like Blaze's TF, but also potentially the Corki. We'll see whether this actually stays or not, because one way or another we have bans coming out on both sides.
Yeah, it's
see, you got pranked.
You just
can't
way
pull
too
it
smart
over
for
on me,
us.
VCS.
Okay, so you're just way too smart. And we're opening up with Killer Queen on Lee Sin, which is always great because honestly, Killer Queen Lee Sin, especially in last season, was really cracked. He had some great plays. And on the other hand, Aomine definitely gets one of his best champions as well. I mean, whenever Aomine was on the Aphelios in the past split, when he got to the team fights with this champion, he was an absolute monster. So I'm hoping we're gonna see that, and I think VCS right now is jumping over to fix it, I would guess.
Yeah, that's probably what's about to happen. Yeah,
It probably is, yeah. And my first thought was actually when I saw the Renekton ban from seemingly Burst the Sky, what that maybe Sahin would be in for game 2, and they still go for the blue side, but apparently they are on the red side, and yeah, I mean, Renekton ban is maybe doing them a favor because we saw in game 1, despite Ryuk being capable of playing a decent Renekton, it didn't really work out for them, and they just need to throw away the game plan, just try something completely different. And I mean, the Aphelios might just be the correct call here, but they give away the Fresh for free and pick Viego for it instead. I'm sure Tim loved that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful champion. Worked out great last game. Draktar, good go. At least you have the setup with Nautilus now, so you do have the ability to go for ganks. But what I wanted to see is Glory, Draktar, and working together as an aggressive mid-jungle duo, and that's not going to happen within Viego. But at least with the Nautilus, you can gank bot lane now. Thresh, really technical in the early levels, especially if he does not go Aftershock. He's very squishy and can be collapsed on very easily.
Interesting. I get to peek over at like the other screen, which has our live feed on it for all of you fine folks. I love the advertisement. Give some props to Spoods being able to make a wonderful Clockwork meme into a fantastic advertisement to come support us on Twitter as we have an opportunity to do so. Both drafts, I think so far I'm liking Luxuries so much more. Like the Jinx Thresh combination, already super powerful. We saw what Vit was capable of doing in the previous game, but then also to give Killer Queen away, I feel like during like the what was like the C tournament qualifiers from Vietnam, which is going on right now. I think it's the C Games is what they're called. The qualifier from Vietnam, every single jungler I saw with Lee Sin was absolutely smurfing on their opposition. Like every single one of them, it didn't matter who it was. And Killer Queen was definitely a part of that pool. And so getting him something that's going to be able to outplay the Viego at the beginning of the game and out gank when you've got a what seemed like better setup in the previous game doesn't seem to bode well. I do like the fact that mid laners are getting taken off from both sides because it's understandable. You see the Victor, the Orianna, the Syndrus, a lot of control mages taken off the board here, gentlemen, as we're going to be stepping into round 2 of the draft. What do you want to see picked first here? Is it the Ride? Do we see the Run back? We're going to get Glory on that list too ahead of them.
I mean,
To be
I
fair,
do like.
there's so many mid lane bans right now, so now Wise kind of makes sense, I dare say. But I gotta agree. I mean, if you just look at the first rotation for both teams, I think Luxury just got the better pick in all 3 of them. I mean, maybe you could argue the Aphelios over the Jinx, but other than that, not really much to say there. The Aphelios without Fresh is not really that much of a beast as you might think. And now we get Akali for Luxury, which could be either solo lane. And currently, of course, you could still play tank Akali. It is not as broken after the Turbo Cam tank nerfs, but it's still very much playable. And I don't really see any champion on the side of Burst Sky that can easily kill it. Maybe the Aphelios could do it with a Kraken Slayer build, but other than that, I don't have much hope for them.
Yeah, even though I think especially Ryze, if he goes for the tank item build as well, which we've seen a lot of, coming in from especially LPL mid laners. And Doinby, I think, was one of the first who went for that Fimble Winter full tank Idebon build, which I really liked. And we might now see it from Glory, because on the other hand, he's going to be very hard to kill if he goes for that build. Jinx usually doesn't have a lot of damage before she hits 3 items, and then Yone and Akali will also have problems. And the Gragas pick, it's a perfect answer. It's very good into Lee Sin, it's very good into Akali, it's very good into Yone. If he goes for a more tank-oriented build as well, he's going to be so hard to kill. And overall, I think in the first 3 picks, BTS definitely got the weaker side. But I think the Ryze in this game is actually very good because so many long-range mid laners have been taken out, so Luxury had to pick low-range into him. And overall, BTS team comp in the last 2 picks kind of saved the draft. And on the other hand, Luxury, I mean, it's Yone Akali. It could be flip either way. It could be they get everything or they get nothing.
In the C games that I also got to saw in some of the games that had actually come out and were able to be seen on broadcast, Coded was actually doing so well on the Akali on an account that didn't have his name on it. I thought he was Hazmat. If that tells anything to anybody that's watched this before, that is about as high of mark as you could actually give to somebody's Akali in the top side. And he wasn't playing the tank variant; he was going for standard variant, which was like the Void Riftmaker. My apologies, whatever that is. Quickly, gentlemen, both sides of the draft, we have a 1-0 in favor of Luxury. Do we go to game 3? Yes or no? Quick discussion on that.
Luxury won this draft, I think, still overall, but better draft always loses, as we know. So I think Burst Sky will equalize the score at 1-1.
I think if Luxury doesn't get off to a strong start as they did in the last game, it's going to be really rough. I think they're getting massively outscaled on basically every position, except for maybe AD carry, where the scaling is more or less even. And so I would give it to BTS. The big win condition for Luxury is if BTS runs it down at Herald once again.
So, funny enough, we have a bit of back and forth, and both of you, we're hoping for a best of 3, obviously, in our first series of the day. I want to give props, of course, to the VCS because we missed a lot of the meta that ended up developing over the last couple of months during our one winter split. The one thing we got right, the Gragas pick. The Gragas pick was getting played in VCS no matter what the situation. So Ryuk, he's taking his chance on this. Hopefully we get the full tank variant of it. But just to take credit, that was VCS first. We've been doing it all along. You're welcome, the rest of the world, for the Gragas meta that now sits in front of you. You know, 2 other people who are getting it done far before any of us were on this broadcast. Carrix and Mobby, they're going to be waiting right around the corner for the beginning of this game in just a handful of seconds. Get ready to throw to them because we're going to get onto the Rift right now. Send it on over.
Well, as IRL Gragas, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be in the meta. I'm glad I finally got a Fimble Winter to put on, make myself a bit tankier. But yeah, I think this is a very, very fun draft here. I think both teams have come out with what they want. I do agree with the analysts that overall Luxury have come out on top. But of course, this is the VCS, so winning draft means very little, Marby.
Yeah, Burst Sky seem to be going for the Annie get you gun approach of anything you can do, I can do better. So they've got the same comp by Gragas, which basically fulfills a very similar role to Graves in the neutralize lane, don't really do and then be useful later on. It's a bit tank. It's tank instead of damage, but whatever. It's the same comp. they just got they almost copy pasted Luxury's card. It's insane. I'm gonna have to see how they can do it. Luxury should have a little bit of an easier time. Jinx Thresh is a very strong lane. Thresh, and though Nautilus is a counter into it, it's not that hard to play it really well. And I looking forward to seeing Killer Queen control the jungle on this Lee Sin, get his lanes rolling, and we're gonna see Drakthar probably continue to lag behind and not really be very effective. This time he doesn't need to be as effective by 15 minutes because he's on Viego, not Jarvan. But I still think this is going to be such a very strong start for Luxury based off of Killer Queen and his ability to impact these lanes. Might be a little bit hard because that's not great setup for him, but
Bit of a scuffle down on the bot side. Turns out pretty even. CBL rather taking a little bit of pain, but
CBL suffering from
nothing that'll stick.
a little bit in the early levels, but he gets them to level 2 early, so they're very comfortable right now. Just happily gonna sit there.
Oh! CBL! What was this? He splashed forward. Elio has to flash away, I suppose. I'd say have to. I'm not sure he did. It didn't seem like there was any chompers ready to go to really lock him down, but regardless, it's a 1-for-1 trade on the flashes, but Ignite and Heal were also spent. Luxury, calm down.
Yeah, CBL going very aggressive. I was not expecting the flash to come out. I was definitely expecting sort of an aggressive hook, like when the minions fall, but no, that's super aggressive. It does open up Elio to a bit more of a threat if Killer Queen makes his way down. I think that is the real goal from CBL in that point, trying to force a flash. They just kind of got the wrong one, getting Elios when they wanted Almines. But that hook was just wide. It just went too far. And now, could
Bad.
control over the crabs is in Drakthar's favor as he manages to clear it out a little bit faster and should be able to make his way across into this top side. Bit of a weird path from Killer Queen, hitting those Krogs first, but wants to make his way into the top side. Did not really have too much. Oh,
this could be turned into a scuffle. Drakthar does get watered out. Blazes jumps back to his body.
yeah,
I think this is just going to turn into a 1-for-1 crab situation, but we go back down to the bot lane. Can't let you in as Elio's taking a lot of damage. There's a Duskwave moved across. Almine taking some rockets, but fending them off well. The exhaust is not even used. Sky maintain their summoner spell lead.
Yeah, but Elio is playing with fire here, and on the top side we're seeing Killer Queen. He's moving on to these Krogs. It won't really go his way. It's not going to be a great fight for him as that level 4 is hit. So he's just going to have to back off right now. Could try and take those on the way out thanks to the push.
A little bit risky.
Could have gone for those Raptors because he had the push in mid, but decides not to. Plays it safe. Heads back to Grump. And I'm just so I'm just baffled by a lot of these the jungle moves. We saw that ward come down and that reveal to Killer Queen. Oh, this is where Drakthar is. I now know my bot side crab is gone.
Glory takes some damage.
Where he gets that. Glory taking damage. It's fine.
Yeah, he's just going to back off, use the teleport to get back to lane. No worries whatsoever, unless Blazers goes for an insane interrupt, but I don't think that would be particularly wise. And of course he won't. There's the back channeled in, teleport momentarily. Yep, there we go. Blazers, wouldn't surprise me if he does the same, as he is on his own back timer now. Once again, the first 5 minutes have been very calm. I'm sure first-time viewers are wondering why that's something to even comment on, but here in the VCS, I'd be expecting a few kills by now. And the first 2 games haven't quite given that to us. Ryuk farming out well on the top side, stacking up that tier. We don't really have too much of an indication what breed of Akali this is going to be. The Conqueror leans to tank, but it's hard to know.
I mean, I don't really know if tank is... Chemtank's kind of out, but I don't really know how...
You'd be surprised. Chemtank's still pretty good. Even post-nerf.
But we're going to see. I do think that simply going for the burst is better. There's the Omnivamp. It's coming in.
Yeah,
With that
that's
leeching
true.
here. And the Killer Queen is going to be here first. They do see the hook, but no flash on CBL. No, Elliot.
Yeah, Elio's in trouble. Elio's taken down. First blood has been secured by Luxury, but it looks like they want to make something out of this one. Do Sky as Almine walking forward has the tags. There's a Realm Warp as well. Killer Queen arriving to teleport to the tower, though. We'll call everything off. Oh my god, CBL just stepping too far forward. This man needs to calm down. His blood's too hot, Marby.
Yeah, steps too far forward, not respecting the range on that rise. He's not very long range, but he still has some in there, and he picks it up, finds the kill. It's 1-for-1 overall, but first blood over to Killer Queen, off to a pretty healthy start, and can sort of, and that's really the best you can hope for Killer Queen, because there's not a lot of options. Ganking a Gragas when you only have an Akali with you is really hard. Similar status with ganking a Yasuo. A Yone, rather. Yone's a little bit easier than Yasuo, but there we are. Just a nice hook. Flash had been blown earlier. Good setup. Knockdown. But the return damage is actually just nuts from Aomine. Just completely chunks out the CBL, and then they have to start running as soon as they see Drakthar. Actually getting the kill is just kind of a nice bonus, because they sort of were like, oh, we're kind of happy with just getting the teleport out of Coded. We're happy to back off from here. And
oh, there's a hook coming in. They stop Blaze's ult as well. Have to burn the flash from Yone to get away. A good roam there by Elio.
Yep, a very good roam getting out of the map. You're kind of going to lose the 2v2 anyway, and I think Aomine might be comfortable enough in the 2v1 right now if he's got enough, if he's picked up the quiver.
Noon quiver. You got it.
One.
It's been a while. It's been like a month.
I know all the items off by picture, not by name.
You're a visual learner. There is a bit of a stack up here. It is, of course, that 8-minute mark as the Herald leaps its way onto the map. Drakthar is spotted, a little bit caught, manages to get into the gas away from the Sonic Wave. But Luxury do have first bite at the apple. Drakthar moving forward. The Spectral Maw doesn't land.
And this
It is just back to the mid wave.
And I'm not. If I see a white gun in your next inventory slot, I'm gonna be really annoyed that you'd bother to walk all the way up when you had a free lane to just shove, and you would have equalized / beaten out this tower. It's an Infernum, so it's not as bad. You would probably get more off a better fight with that, but it's a matter of can you pick it. Ryuk is gonna be looking for that cask. But it's a bit harder to find those picks because you can't really hook over the wall like that.
Oh, yeah, I think he can, though, as they will pick up that first kill. The Flamethrower ultimate does go in, but now Elio's going low, and Coded is running rampant. Coded in blood, methinks, as he goes on forward. It's going to be the Jinx picking up the kill as Vit got 2, and it's a Herald fight again, Marby. BTS, stay away.
Again, don't you commit too much. You're trying too hard. Elio, Sky. Not really Elio's fault, but I was setting up. He can't really hook over wall. He can't make these picks, but Thresh absolutely can. They find it onto Glory. They pop him up. They remove him. The Herald doesn't actually go down in the end, but it's just the damage is done here. There's no real response from Sky. They can't burst out Killer Queen. They can't get any of the kills down. It's just a complete massacre. And now Luxury, once again, off to a pretty healthy lead. Not as big as last time. It's 1.5k compared to 2k. But actually, they are going to be able to find their way onto the Herald because the bot lane of Luxury reset, and they're going to just try and mosey down this tower with the minigun.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a surprise to see Sky actually picking up this objective, but as you said, it is just going to be traded with gold directly onto the Jinx. Hardly a bad situation. She did pick up those 2 kills, as we said. As the fight played out, they get the Dragon as well. That first cloud stack. Potentially going to pay off later. And now there's a play. Elio tagged. They're going to move in. Is the boot ready? He doesn't quite get it off. The Yone ult doesn't land either as he manages to spy an order away. In goes the Jinx Rocket. The kill comes forward for Blazers. And Luxury, they're just a better unit.
Yeah, they're just working together as a team. They're kind of just deathballing a little bit, but it's working out for them. And picking up that Cloud Drake means they can get away with it a little bit more because they have that movement speed to get around the map. It's going to be traded with a lot of tower damage down. Giving it over to Almina, that's good, but it's not going to be the whole tower. So it's gold, but it's more gold onto the side of Burst, Luxury rather, especially picking up that kill onto Glory. Just can't give CBL hooks, man. He's too good with them.
Yeah, but there's a lot of hooks in the game at this point. It's hard to ban them all out, Marby. CBL perhaps just in draft heaven.
I forgot otherwise. There's a lot of other stuff to go around the hooks. That's why Thresh is good, but Pike no. Unless you're Hellas.
Hey, maybe CBL Pike. I don't think we've ever seen it, but that is the first tower being picked up by the Jinx. Vit is in a position to carry. He played well on the Aphelios last game as well. It was not as accelerated, at least not on his own. He was very accelerated, but he also had the huge Viego. This time it is more on him to carry the lead. Most of the lead is on him. But Jinx is a champion that can certainly allow that to happen as Glory just bothers Blazers, really, just being a bit of a bully.
But I do feel it's easier to play out this Jinx.
Bait.
Hold on.
Glory could be in trouble. There's no Yone ultimate, though, so they can't actually lock him down. He procs the phase rush, and he just trundles on over.
It should be slightly easier to play out this Jinx, as there's not really that huge range disadvantage you're working into. There is a bit of dive coming in, but you have a very strong disruptive front line. That's going to be making it very hard for the damage to follow up on Ryuk and Drakthar so much, because we're just going to see them try and dive in, but they don't want to dive in because that leaves Glory and Armina to be assassinated by Blazes and Coded. Speaking of which, they are having a fantastic time and can easily transition this into the 1-3-1 once turrets fall.
Moving under the tower, Glory just flashes away. Doesn't want to mess with the Yone and the Lee Sin. Can't say I blame him. But Sky can't get anything anywhere else. They're just losing all over the map.
Yeah, getting shoved in all three lanes. Drakthar not really being able to push out either to sort of try and find a path to wrap around. And look at this pressure on Glory.
Yeah, he's under attack once again. They pick him up. Coded will trade 1-for-1 there with Ryuk. This Akali now 2-1. I think the wheels are well and truly off the Sky wagon.
Ryuk, you should have just kept walking. You probably would have. You could have survived as up.
Oh no, Marby.
Yeah.
Oh no. Get the funeral dirge playing. The Sky has fallen.
Yeah, Sky really suffering in this first week. We won't write it off entirely. They had a terrible start to winter as well, of course, but
Sure.
This game is looking pretty bad. They're down 5k. It's only 14 minutes, so they can't get more tower plates, can Luxury, and it looks pretty good from Ryuk, but just there's a lot of damage coming out from Coded, and yeah, if he doesn't turn around...
Yeah, if he just walked. He just walked away. Yeah, he just gets the kill. That's just a pure mistake.
I get it. I get the idea of trying to get the auto off first and not really sure about that strike for 5-point strike being up. And they did kill Coded again. We just saw Drakthar coming out of being Akali, so they found another pick. They found a bit more gold into their pockets, so they might be able to try and convert something if they can find a big fight. Big Moonlight Vigil into multiple resets from Drakthar. There's still an angle where Sky can win a fight and find their way back into this game, but Vit is going to be a bit of a problem. He's very far ahead. Blazes is also very far ahead and can wreak havoc in the backline, so just going to have to see them try and do something. Drakthar is playing with fire here.
He does get the smite. Looks like Vit was just confused for a second. Because why the hell is Drakthar here? He's caught, he flashes. The hook, the kill.
Off transfer complete.
Oh my, Marby, if they've got an angle to win this, then I've got curves. Because they are just done and dusted. Sky's not in this series.
They have an angle to win this, but it definitely does not involve Drakthar going into solo missions into the jungle for no real reason to secure a red buff. It's not worth it at all, and we're gonna see this. Where'd the Rift Herald go? Someone take the Rift Herald, I suppose. The second Herald got taken somewhere along the way. I'm not sure where it is. I don't see it right now. So
One day we'll get a scoreboard. It's okay. Let's have a look at this replay. This was just Coded getting caught out. Just jumped over a wall he shouldn't have jumped over. But then Drakthar just loses his mind. We're not going to see it in the replay. We don't really need to. He just goes, oh, I want this red buff, and I can die to get it, which is not how that works. As Glory, taking a lot of damage, does manage to kite it out. Can't really go back in to help Drakthar, though, as he goes lower and lower. He goes down. Can they get onto Blazes? No, not quite. Everything missing. Finally, the bombs from the Nautilus will get it. Elio with a good hook, trying to get him away from the lantern. They do it well. They shut him down. And Glory benefits the goal.
yeah, picks up another kill. And when did Drakthar die? Oh wait, he died in the start of it.
He died in the play.
People keep dying. Drakthar, I do not know where Drakthar is. Drakthar might as well just be dead because he's either dying in a real fight or he's dying in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. Anyway, overall 2 for 1, good, fantastic. You got to shut down onto Killer Queen, shut down onto Blazers, great. You have gold. You're getting gold back. You've kept it within that 5k range. You're doing all right. The Rift Herald has now spawned. That's where it is. Timing completely off the window. But yeah.
This is what happened with Drakthar, as they try and make a good play here. This is actually a really good attempt. Blazers can't quite burst out Glory. It's a very close run thing. If he bursts him out, this fight goes completely different.
Yeah, but the collapse is there in time. Good teleporting from Ryuk. And then here, it's really nice. Just barrel into hook. No real chance to get that. Just too much CC. CBL just watches the jungler, unable to collect the lantern.
Yeah, he tried. He tried real hard, but didn't quite get there, as you said. So, as you pointed out, they are just outside that 5k boundary. But the fact that we're talking about 5k at 18 minutes is worrying. Glory, once again, getting chunked out, uses the Aberfrost. Drakthar needs to kite and take a lot of this damage, and they do it well, as Blazers will fall. Drakthar, the benefit.
Yeah, working with the buddy, that's really good. Blazers does not have the ability to completely one-shot anyone, especially not Glory, so able to tank up the initial burst, sees the follow-up, but can't escape. Too much CC. That's great. You want to keep seeing things like that, but now we're going to see the Rift Herald picked up by Luxury now dropped mid. It's going to be a bit hard to defend this, but there's decent wave clear on Almina, but there's no tower. Didn't have enough health to survive the initial charge. They can stop a second, but...
Oh, but here comes the flank, as Drakthar and Glory have arrived. There's a bit of a two-front fight now, but Killer Queen will be immediately blown up, gives Drakthar a reset as well. He can't actually make much use of it, though, as Coded will take him down. Blaze is going low, Blaze is going down. Glory getting those Qs bouncing across the whole team. Ryuk, fairly tanky. Can they actually continue this play? Do they really want to? Oh, yes, they do, Marby, as here's the big lad in the middle of the enemy team, immediately having to flash away. In goes the Zap, doesn't quite connect onto him. Elio blocking that one well. Almine has fallen. Glory, you have to hit the Qs. As now Vit moving on forward. CBL goes gold. Buying some time. He will go down once again to the blue man as they choke Luxury out and BTS fight back.
Yeah, really, really well played. They've managed to find a great flank and remove some of the big players instantly from Luxury. And that's managed to scale them through into a bit of a one fight. And let's see, how does it start off here? It's Glory and Drakthar on the backside, immediately removing Killer Queen. That removes a lot of the utility from this Luxury lineup. And from here, there's Assassins just trying to do their best, but Ryuk playing Bouncer beautifully, not letting them get close to Almina. And then they go hard, they go for it. It works out, and it works out overall, but this beautiful hook from CBL, just, real nice. Gets another kill onto Vit. It's overall a loss, of course, but that salvages it a little bit. And we're seeing Vit, he's able to hit fairly freely, but he's not able to chunk out this damage quite yet. Most likely because he's built the no damage build.
A little bit.
Probably. We're gonna see it, but I'm expecting Gale Force into...
He did Gale Force. He used the dash in that last fight.
damage.
I actually think Gale Force is fine here. I think that dash in is worth its weight in gold.
You shouldn't follow that up with rapid fire because then you do no damage.
I agree. That's very true. I do agree. But Vit will have to try and prove us wrong. As the dragon is on the map, Elliot tagged up, throws a hook, doesn't hit, but in goes Lee Sin. The boot is in. Does a lot of damage, and Yone follows it up. Wants to take them all down. Realm Warp Muse trying to buy a little bit of space. Doesn't quite work out. Now it's Sky re-engaging, but it's not working out as Luxury are winning it. Vit speeds up. He's got a triple. Moving forward, he wants the fourth. They're going to get the ace, and Luxury clean BTS off the map.
You see Luxury with Killer Queen can win a fight. It's a beautiful kick to start it off. They cause so much disruption to Sky, and it's going to turn into just 2 objectives, puts them on Soul Point, and they're going to get the Baron for free because they only lost Coded in the mix. It's a 5-for-1. They're winning these team fights handedly. They pull ahead to about a 7k gold lead, and it becomes harder and harder. Sky have to work extra hard to find another flank like they did in that first one to just try and make things happen. Try and remove the team fight utility of Luxury to keep the disruption there so that the Assassins can make it work in the back.
And clearly, Luxury have been drinking their daily cup of Castrol. The sponsors of the VCS for this split. Delicious drink. That's what it is. As we go into a replay of this decisive dragon fight.
Here we see it's a beautiful kick and just ruins everything. Sky are in such disarray. It doesn't help that Haomina has probably the worst guns, so he can't actually really contribute to this fight at all. But he's just poking away with these awful guns, and he just can't do anything. He can't get any hits in as the whole fight is cleaned up entirely by Vit and Blazes, and it's just awful. Fantastic moves from the side of Luxury, though. Playing it out extremely well. That's a Bloodthirster second from Aomine. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I think it makes sense with the amount of dive that's coming in onto him. He just wants to have a shield and a hook onto Drakthar. They don't really have the follow-up, though. He does just W away.
And there's the Infinity Edge now from Vit, so he's actually kicking in pain right now. Ryu come a good angle. There's the pick on a Vit.
Yeah, they do.
Thrash.
Do their best, but he managed to get away, and in goes Yone. Look at the AoE from the Rockets. Kabow goes Jinx. Got the triple. They're moving forward. This is a pentakill angle, Marvy, as there's the fourth. Can they actually get onto Glory? Are we going to have a pentakill in our third split? No! Yone, you bastard! This is why no one likes you.
Toxic Yone just comes in, no one gets a pentakill except for me. Jinx absolutely fuming, but I mean, the blow will be softened by the fact they're just going to pick up this inhibitor. They can probably end off of this. It's only Elio for another couple seconds. I don't think Drakthar is particularly threatening, but I completely understand playing it safe and just knocking out another inhibitor as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm so shattered. A Penta in our first series would have been such a good way to start the split, but no! Blazers had to be rude. Takes a lot of damage, but he is Yone. Goes back to his soul. Ryuk bearing down on the side. Throws out the cast, but it's onto Elise Sin, the one target who could not care less. And Luxury will retreat from the base unmolested.
That's the saddest body slam I've ever seen. Just edges onto a wall. Feels real bad. Anyway, fantastic for
You know all about edging.
They picked up
As the replay comes in.
And here we saw a nice attempt from Ryuk and Elliot to pick off Vit, but the Dark Passage was just in a perfect position. Then you called it Blazes and Vit. The AoE damage is disgusting. And come on, Blazes, you didn't need to do that. All right. That's just kind of sus. it looks like that should have gone to the rocket, but apparently not. Blazes gets it. Feels real rude.
A little bit. But it doesn't matter. As Luxury are, I mean, this does feel like a bit of a victory lap. They're 14k ahead at 26 minutes. Do you think they still have an angle? You were saying earlier, has that angle been straightened out?
I mean, yeah, look, Luxury could sprint it.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry, I have to... Oh my god, where did they go? As Yone's picked up 2, Akali will get another one there as Coda moves on forward. There it is, the second, and only Glory is left alive. They want to get... Okay, good job, boys.
There's your angle. Found
It does not matter though, because Luxury, even with their mid laner donating a kill over to the enemy team, it can never ever matter as the Nexus is open. And Luxury, they are insane here at the start of the split. They avenge that 3rd, 4th place match in the winter split as they're going to try and pick up one more kill onto Glory. He does manage to get away onto the pad, but the Nexus will fall. Luxury, they were not happy about losing in that best of 5, and they come back hard and they win this one 2-0.
So obviously, over the course of the small off season, it could be CBL, it could be just coaching in general, but they have seemed to really clean up their game. They've cleaned up a lot of their game sense and their decision making of these mid to late games. It feels, and I got to point to Vince, say huge glow up. This new lane partner with CBL, it seems to have done wonders for him. I'm fairly sure he went deathless in both games and had huge KDAs. So, it's off to a good start. We're gonna have to see if he can keep it up because big glow up.
Yeah, 100%. We are going to go straight back over to our desk to break down this game, break down this series. Rebel, Tim, Crincy, all yours, boys.
Welcome back to the VCS Analyst Desk, as we have now completed our first series of the day. Gentlemen, just like last time, I'm going to start with another trivia question. Faker, Chovy, right? Maple, Yagao, Glory. What do these 5 mid laners have in common?
Tim, you're muted. They are all mid laners, but Tim, you're muted.
Yeah, well,
Go
it
first.
is what it is. They suck at Rice. That was my answer. But no, I mean,
go ahead.
Rice is mixed results, but again, I think both games had a very similar way how they went. It's just Luxury, they won the first 10 minutes, then they griefed it for another 10, and then they won again, right? So I think if we want to look back at the series just from Luxury's perspective, and yes, they have cleaned up the game, but especially that time between minute about 12, 13 to like 22, 23 minutes, that those are 10 minutes they really have to clean up, because in both games, they just started throwing away shutdowns, they started throwing away fights, they overextended consistently, they were getting caught out, and that's something that, especially playing against GAM and Cerberus, who we're still expecting probably to be the top 2 teams, we'll see the contest between those two, of course, tomorrow. I think if they want to compete with these two, which probably is Luxury's goal, then they have to clean up those 10 minutes, because they can easily cost you the game.
And at the 9th minute, the game was dead even, and then this one hook onto Glory lands, and the whole team just falls apart there. I mean, I cannot really understand what Sky was doing this offseason, basically, because we expected them to be the team with the better synergy, and they just come out of the gate like that. Luxury was completely all over them, all series, and yeah, just one fight, and the game just basically breaks apart for them. And Luxury wasn't even clean in snowballing, as Tim just said, and it was still a very rough showing for them in the start of the split. Gotta say, though, it doesn't mean like the end of the world for them, because there's still like many series left to play, and maybe they just had a bad day and it just happened to be the first one. Can also be the case. Or maybe Luxury was just really angry after getting reverse swept in the 3rd place decider match, because I mean that kind of grinds your gears, right?
Mm-hmm. I think the outcome of this series, at least the way that it happened, was a little more surprising to most people. This is where, Spoots, you're supposed to put my 2-0 prediction for Luxury below me right here. But most importantly, I think, to me at least, I don't think Luxury necessarily looked horrid. I agree the mid-game was definitely a little bit rough for them, because their transition in trying to close out games really, I think, fell more to Sky not really having a good grasp of how to get back into a game after a decent deficit. To me, this was a lot more regression on the side of the Burst the Sky and what they've been able to accomplish as a team. Because last split, they had cleaned up their decision making quite a bit. They had a much more kind of definitive style inside of the games. Ryu definitely looked better. Like Drakthar looked better. This was a series where it seemed like every single position was struggling pretty much all throughout. So whether or not this is systematic, I think is something we'll have to track as this week goes on. Obviously, this isn't the winter split, so we don't have like 3 series a week to be able to judge this team on. We'll get more time for them to be able to fix some of the stuff that they're working on. Hopefully, it's nothing too crazy. So let's come back to, I guess, Luxury for a little bit about what some of the things that you liked about them on the day. Because obviously, the mid-game swap was a little bit rough. Do you think this was just a snowball? Do you think this was Sky really stumbling out of the gate? Or was there something you really particularly thought was good from Luxury today?
I really like the second game draft, I would say. I mean, we already talked about it as the draft was panning out, that they had a very good first rotation and getting the Jinx Fresh lane going. Also, like, even if they played it out like with Vid and with CBL, the new support coming in, it definitely worked wonders for them. And in game 1, where we were like very deadpan about them losing the draft, they still played their draft to right win conditions and absolutely nullified this Twitch Lulu bot lane that never really got rolling. Also, having the Graves ready against the Renekton from Brio, which would have been expected for them, was something that also worked great in their favor. And I think Luxury, I mean, kind of surprising us on the positive note here.
Yeah, I have to disagree with Quincy a bit on that. I don't think that is a great note to start off for Luxury. I think Burst the Sky was really stumbling out of the game. I think the only thing that really worked out good for them, the only thing that was consistently good in both games was their laning in the first 3 to 4 levels on bot lane. I mean, they've annihilated both times. They really traded up there and made CBL and Vid work for it. But other than that, BTS didn't show anything. They didn't show the team fighting they had. The decision making was completely all over the place. There was barely any communication. At least that's what it looked like. And on the other hand, Luxury, they played okay. They maybe played even well in some situations, but I don't think those are great games to say, okay, this is the Luxury we want. This is the Luxury we expect to go easily top 2 and contest for that title, which definitely, I think, is the benchmark that they are setting for themselves and we should be setting as well as their goal. And it was more of them doing less mistakes and just punishing very well, having a good understanding of how to play their drafts and just not int it down and just punish the mistakes.
Yeah, I think a small sample size might actually do some misjustice, I suppose, to how bad this was for Luxury, or at least some of the deficits. So hopefully team coordination improves as they get more kind of stage time, more scrim time over the course of the split. Again, they have a lot more time in this split than they did in the winter to be able to fix mistakes. So hopefully that's coming. I did like the look of their new bot lane. I thought CBL had some really kind of doofus moments during the course of that, is I guess how I'm going to call them for the most part. But he and Vit definitely looked like their laning was improved, which was the biggest thing that I think needed improved altogether about Luxury, was that their laning on bottom side, oftentimes if it was taken against them, their top side really had to put in work. But here, this looked a lot better, especially into Amide, who was one of the better ADCs. He was voted, I think, unanimously like top 2, top 3 minimum among a lot of us that had considered it in the previous split. Elio was kind of encroaching upon that top 4 territory as well. So this was a bot lane that was supposed to be really good. I think the improvement was there from Luxury's bot lane. They showed they're capable of competing. Hopefully, the team continues to improve. We have another series a little bit later on. I do believe that should be in about a little over an hour at this point, because we got done with the series a little bit quicker than we thought that was going to happen. This is because, of course, we are not on a rolling schedule. We are on a set schedule. So what I have to assume is probably going to be about 1 hour and 25 minutes from this moment, somewhere around that area. We'll be back with what is the second series of the day, where we're going to see what is extremely fortunate to be Team Secret up against the side of SBTC, which are 2 teams that have made some drastic roster swaps. Please stick around with us. If you don't stick around, be back in an hour and 25 minutes. We'll be back with more VCS action here on our opening day.